All right, guys, welcome back to D'Angelo Unfiltered. Let me paint you a picture about your goals in this letter, whatever that may be. Imagine you're standing in front of a dam. There's water rushing behind a seemingly immovable thick wall of concrete, but accumulated water against the wall builds pressure. Now, say every day you show up with a tiny tool, maybe a hammer, maybe a chisel, or something else of the sort that feels a bit laughable compared to what you're trying to bust open. You may come back to the same spot every day and take a swing each time, but nothing happens. Swing after swing, still nothing. And if you're like most people, you start doing that thing we all do, which is when we interpret the lack of visible progress as a sign that we're wasting our time. We may ask if our efforts are leading to anything tangible. Is this working? Are we built for this sort of thing? Is the lack of tangible progress a sign that we are spending our time doing the wrong thing? But what we don't see is that the dam is changing. The dam is being chipped at. Like that man with the pickaxe who's chipping away at the gravel to get to the hoard of diamonds. The end result, which is, of course, the hoard of diamonds, is where we're trying to get to. But the process is not dramatic, extravagant, or even enjoyable half the time. The process is often not something we want to brag about. Yet, under the surface, in the dark, out of sight and out of mind, are little fractures in the structure of the concrete wall. And this subtly causes pressure to shift slowly. Gravity increases, and then one day the dam breaks completely. Have you ever heard from others or even thought to yourself, how did that person become so successful so fast? The fact of the matter is that they probably didn't. They didn't become successful fast. They just were failing and therefore you weren't looking. Success looks big and unexpected because we notice success more than failure. And that's the truth. Success rarely shows up in a short time window. This is why many people lose money investing because they take a short term view instead of a long term view. Patience is a virtue. We have to show up long enough for reality to finally give way to our desires and efforts. You can think of it as your cosmic initiation. The universe will not grant you what you want without you showing you deserve it and can handle it first. Growth is ugly. That person who is really good romantically, for example, probably has been rejected a million times, but they stay themselves and they keep connecting, which is why they attract. If you're trying to improve your dating life, you're going to have awkward conversations. You're going to have missed opportunities and fumbled moments until your nervous system learns the rhythm. That person who is a really good content creator, writer, or artist probably has produced countless projects that didn't amount to anything and maybe weren't even very good, but each project helped refine their craft. That person who has a successful business probably spent so much time losing money and struggling to find customers before floating back above water. They stuck it through and refined it. If you're trying to build a business, you're going to feel stupid for a while. That person who is really good with their money probably experienced a lot of time where they spent recklessly and suffered the consequences before realizing that they should and could do better. They likely had to detach over and over from the dopamine hit of spending money and culture consumerism. That person who eats really well sets boundaries on food and drinks that are bad for health and is physically fit probably spent a lot of time doing the opposite for a time and then slowly had to learn to be better. If you're trying to get in shape, you're going to look in the mirror and feel like nothing is changing at first until you notice your body has shifted. If you're trying to become more capable as a man or a woman, you're going to bump into your own insecurities over and over again until one day they stop controlling you. This connects to polarity. Our failures and shortcomings make our wins even sweeter, and they are required in order to get our wins. Michael Jordan said he's failed over and over in his life, and that's exactly why he succeeds. And that's very true. Breakthroughs are called breakthroughs because they seem to happen suddenly. The success shows up in waves and not in a gradual rhythm that matches our inputs. Going back to the man with the pickaxe, you've probably seen that photo of him walking back and giving up just as he's about to pick past the gravel and into the area where the diamonds lay. The point is that most people quit right before the dam breaks because we subconsciously try to avoid failure or register it as something bad. We attach a label to it and create a narrative that fits our emotional state. If we are feeling sad due to a lack of progress, we may quit to validate our emotions. But true failure is chosen, and it is chosen continuously. You cannot fail if you keep trying. There's no such thing. We have to reframe in our minds what failure even is in the first place. And it should only be a label we attach to our inputs and our efforts. Also, it's very naive of us to think that our efforts should always lead to the outcomes we want. The world is complex, the universe in reality are complex, meaning we have much less control than we are comfortable with. We have to come to grips with our lack of control on most outcomes and just let live. Failure is a rep, really. It's a step. It's the cost of becoming the type of person who can actually handle what they say they want. Just think about it in this way. When we run, lift, or do calisthenics, we are helping our bodies through intentional and controlled stress. Paradoxically, the stress is good for the body and helps us live longer. We damage the muscles through micro tears. We strain our cardiovascular system as we're pushing towards the end of our runs. The feeling of this might not be the greatest sensation ever. It actually might feel quite heavy. Maybe our form is off because of the difficulty. Maybe we fight ourselves to keep going because it feels worse than sitting at home on the couch. But the point isn't to look great, impressive, or knowledgeable. The idea of aesthetics usually gets us into trouble. The point is to keep showing up long enough for your body to adapt, and the body only adapts through stress. So if the body adapts through stress and pushing through the muck, the same principle holds true of the mind as they work in unison. The mind adapts through resistance also, through embarrassment, through missed shots, through wrong turns, through those moments when you say you thought you were ready, but it was proven that you were not. These moments are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that you need to keep going. The problem of the matter, and something we all need to continuously focus on, is detachment from our emotions. Yes, we need to understand them and acknowledge them, but not be moved off our path by them. When we try something, instead of us saying that we failed as a person, we can say that our effort failed at that moment. When we detach failure from our identities, it becomes something we can view from a bird's eye view because we're not attached to it like a symbiote. We may have less shame, and it might be less personal in this instance. Seeing failure from a bird's eye view means we can soar through the air lightly versus being dragged down by its gravity. Once we see failure, we avoid it. And when we avoid fear, we stop taking swings. We might get tentative, we might overthink, we might question ourselves. We might even get disconnected from our power. The key is learning how to fail without letting it touch your soul. We build consistency through all outcomes when we maintain our mental space. Our inner safety usually comes from us in our inner dialogue and when we allow ourselves to try again. True power is being able to fall down, be knocked down, be thrown off the horse, and still be able to stand up tall without any residue. You're still walking, you're still breathing, you're still here, you can still fight, you can still win, you can find a path, and you can show up once again. This is where the obstacle becomes a stepping stone because every time you fail, you have a choice. You can treat it like evidence that you're not the one to be able to get the job done, or you can treat it as it is, which is just information. That information is just a roadmap. It's the universe telling you where to adjust. Failure lays the path forward. Now that you understand that failure is your friend in life, let's talk about something else, which is participation trophies, because I think this connects well with the topic at hand. Do you ever hear someone absolutely downplay the idea of participation trophies and medals entirely, saying that they are pathetic and send the wrong message to the kids? Actually, anyone who says this has a gross misunderstanding of the function that participation trophies serve. Second place ribbons, medals, and trophies are not celebrating or promoting mediocrity. It is rewarding engagement because many people don't feel safe enough to even try. Courage doesn't always come easily to all of us, but we want to stoke the fire of courage in all of us. It takes a village to make and maintain a great society. As competitive as we are and as beneficial competitiveness is, we ultimately compete to make ourselves and our peers better. But we should want to see all of our peers in the game. And if you don't, you are insecure in your pursuit of success. A lot of people watch life from the bleachers and then critique the players in the game as if they are experts on something they don't have experience in. A lot of people protect their ego by never putting their sense of self on the line. So when someone shows up, even if they get second, fifth, or 10th place, even if they don't, even if they lose and don't even make it on the scoreboard, we couldn't call that pathetic, and we shouldn't. The person who gets down in the mud, the person who takes a hit, the person who feels the sting of loss and doesn't run away, that's the person we can call courageous. If you were to adopt this mindset for yourself, rewarding participation means that you let your brain know it's safe to expose yourself and to keep going. It's a great thing to step into the arena. We have to prevent the brain from associating effort with humiliation because effort will feel fruitless. It's better to make sure the brain associates pride with effort, even if the effort is minuscule, because that will help you come back to the task and the goal at hand. This mindset could seriously change how you relate to yourself. And look, I understand that, we all want to be on the mountaintop, but what is the apex really? Perfection and being at the top is what we strive for. And if you get there, that's great. But I promise you that something new will come up and eventually you will be back in the process of achieving something else. This isn't to say that we don't already appreciate our achievements, but life is seasonal. When a team wins the Super Bowl, they may celebrate for a time and then they get prepared to try and win again the following year. More hard work, more training, more mental toughness, more adversity, more striving. And that's honestly 99% of the time you'll spend. So if we say that time is precious and valuable, then we should value what we do the majority of the time, which is everything in between where you are and where you want to be. Results come and go. Sometimes we do everything right and still lose. Sometimes we do everything wrong and still get lucky. So remember that results are partly due to worldly effects, but effort is all you. And if your effort becomes consistent, if your input becomes consistent, results eventually have no choice but to shift in your favor. If life were full of probabilistic outcomes, then the best way to win is to make those outcomes we want more likely. Success is a numbers game. How many chances do you have to get your big break if you try something 1,000 times versus 250? Life is about becoming so consistent that the results have no choice but to bend to your will. That's how the dam breaks. So, if you're in a season right now where you feel like you're failing over and over and nothing is changing, then good, me too. But I want you to remember that you might not be losing. You might be cracking the concrete holding the force of water. You might be inches away from a breakthrough you can't even see yet. So keep showing up, keep taking big swings, keep playing. It's not guaranteed you'll win every time, but if you don't play, you guarantee that you'll never become the person you're capable of being. And that's honestly the only real loss in life. You become a great human through the test, through the effort, through the mud. So if you're down, I'd love to ask you, what is something you've been failing at lately? Maybe that's something that you still know you need to keep showing up for. And if you're honest, how close do you think you are to the dam finally breaking? That's all I have for you in this letter today on failure and a little bit of adversity. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, please like and subscribe. And I will be returning to provide even more value to you next time. But mull this one over, think about it, think about how you can apply this to your life, and I'll see you next time.